Okay, I promise I'm gonna try to make this short. So, I have a slight theory. Don't know if this is, I want to say, not real, but just a theory, just a theory. What if this entire Triple H and The Rock beef is all a work? Because The Rock tweeted something that everything is a work or something of that nature, like, everything, talk shows, interviews, could be magazine interviews. He was like, everything is a work. Don't believe the hype or something to that nature. So I'm thinking, okay, right after Mania, The Rock supposedly breaks kayfabe and just downs creative and all of that other stuff. And I'm thinking, The Rock, he asked Cody to be his champion. And I started really thinking about this after seeing something on the Vince Russo podcast, which, if I have time, I might insert that clip. I'm probably not going to insert that clip. You could go to Vince Russo podcast and find it. But I think it was him, Stevie Richards, was saying, they were talking about the Triple H, The Rock drama. And there was another guest, wasn't sure who he was, but he said, is Cody a Triple H guy or The Rock guy? And then he said, oh, he's he said he's a Triple H guy or something like that. And then he said, well, is John Cena a Triple H guy or The Rock guy? And then he said something like, oh, he's a Rock guy. But then we started looking at this because they kind of went deeper. They were like, are these other wrestlers, are they a HBK guy or a Triple H guy? Or I forgot what the other person who might have been training or something like that, but they were saying like Rhea Ripley. They was like, yeah, Rhea Ripley is a Triple H girl. So, she's over all the time. So it's almost like Triple H has his set of wrestlers that he likes and he only pushes, and not saying that The Rock doesn't necessarily have his own group of wrestlers. We know HBK does, but I think what The Rock was kind of hinting at, because there's always a bit of reality in things that you do. So when it was like The Rock wanted his champion, sell your soul to The Rock, and The Rock on the Pat McAfee show said that Seth Rollins pretty much texted him and said, hey, I'm willing to sell my soul at any time. So could we have some kind of work or story going on where they have a Triple H, The Rock power struggle, not like a Raw versus SmackDown type thing, but maybe like faction of guys versus Triple H. Like, you might have the Shield, the Authority, other little stuff. Like, I know the Hurt Business isn't in, WWE, but, you have the Rock's set of champions maybe versus Triple H set of champions, and you could have like Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Well, hey, Seth Rollins might be a rock guy. He might sell his soul. We know Roman would technically be a rock guy, you know, with that whole bloodline story mode, but maybe, you know, you might could go into other things like, hey, Rollins want to sell his soul. Maybe he ends up teaming with Roman, or maybe Roman doesn't like that and teams with Triple H or something. You know, if this is true, then you know, they could probably really cook with this. You know, a storyline like this done correctly might be bigger than that whole bloodline storyline. You know, you have the final boss and his faction, and then you have Triple H with his faction going at it. And you can actually use this to push up new talent, to maybe do some invasions. They're attacking each other. You know, I don't know, but I think that type of story would be cool. The Rock is buying souls, and, you know, he might say, hey, you know, if you're my champion, hey, you know, not necessarily just like a Travis Scott type interference, but hey, if I have a champion, I got to protect that champion and make sure he has the longest reign. And you might could set it up to where John Cena, you know, he wants to ruin wrestling. John Cena is basically saying like, hey, I'm going to take this championship and retire it. Maybe what they do is, hey, Vince is gone from this company, period. And Triple H mentioned that sort of at his Hall of Fame speech. He didn't go too deep into it, but if I'm Triple H and I'm The Rock, and Vince is gone from WWE, this is under TKO, I would let John Cena retire that belt, because he's probably the only one that deserves to retire that belt and start over. I would start it over, because if you really think about it, that title has so much history, but it seems to be attached, you know, to almost like Vince McMahon's dad, maybe a few others before him. But retire that belt and then start right now WrestleMania 42, right? WrestleMania 42. A brand new championship, and let that new belt be won by a black champion. I think that would be mind-blowing. And also, I'm going to make another video about that. About WrestleMania 42 and why it's significant. I have to do a little more research on it first, but it's coming. But if they did that, because, you know, Triple H has this stigma against him, you know, with the Swerve Strickland and all of that type of stuff. Hey, retire that belt, get a new belt. I'm not saying throw Carmelo Hayes or anyone like that on there, but I mean, Bobby Lashley left. I would have put it on Bobby, but I mean, WrestleMania 42 in New Orleans, brand new championship that's could be, you could say, Triple H and The Rock had a partnership in it. If they're really beefing and really mad with each other, I mean, that's mega petty. I know it could be a power struggle, but I hope this is a work, and I hope it's done correctly. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Because if this is a work where planning is going into it right after WrestleMania with this drama between HHH and The Rock, and Triple H could have his champions, The Rock could have his champions, they could collide at War Games and bring that storyline into WrestleMania. You might could have a Triple H champion, well, a Triple H guy wins Royal Rumble. You might could have a Rock guy win Money in the Bank. You might could have a Rock guy win Elimination Chamber. You know, switch it up. Switch it up. Switch it up. I'm here for it. Let me know what y'all think in the comments.